On my wedding day, I honestly wanted to call it off. Not because I had changed my mind about Fred, I still loved him and wanted to be his wife, but because all the planning and details had pushed me to the edge. From the guest list to the seating chart to the flowers and food, it had all become too much. I had regretted 1,000 times that we had gone with a big celebration. We thought it would be fun, something special to remember, but it turned into one giant to-do list that never seemed to end. I had hoped that on the actual day, I could relax and only worry about the fact that I was getting married, for God's sake. But no, the chaos didn't stop. Every few minutes, someone needed something, or a new issue popped up, and it drained every bit of joy I had left. All I wanted was to run away with Fred, just the two of us, and get married quietly. But it was too late. That was why I stood at Fred's door, hoping he could calm me down. I knocked and walked inside. "You look so beautiful," Fred said as soon as he saw me. He smiled like I was already in the dress and veil. I was still in my robe. My hair was half done. "Oh, am I allowed to see you?" he asked a second later and raised his eyebrows like he'd broken some big rule. "You're about to officially become my husband, and you're not allowed to see me?" I asked with a smile. I stepped into the room without waiting for him to answer. "Well, there is a superstition," Fred began. I didn't let him finish. I walked straight to him. "I don't believe in any superstitions," I said and wrapped my arms around him. I needed that hug more than anything. Fred hugged me right away. "Is everyone getting on your nerves?" he asked. I nodded. "Do you want them all to disappear?" I nodded again. He held me tighter. His shirt smelled like fresh laundry. I closed my eyes for a second. "It's going to be okay," Fred said. "The most important thing is that we have each other. Let your bridesmaids deal with the rest. Holly's already handling some things. I'm afraid to give your sister anything." "Chewing gum will definitely be involved," I said. Fred laughed. "Stacy has that bad habit, nothing we can do," he said. I stepped back. "Thank you. I feel better," I said. "Always happy to help," he said and kissed me. "Soon it'll be your official duty to calm me down." "It's already been my official duty for 1.5 years," Fred said with a smile. I kissed him again and left to finish getting ready. As I walked down the hall, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Holly. "I'm back, but I'm explaining to your grandma why she can't take ice cream into the church." I stopped in my tracks and laughed out loud. I could picture the whole scene, Grandma standing there with her little bowl of ice cream, acting like it was perfectly normal to bring dessert to a wedding ceremony. Holly probably had her hands full trying to gently explain without starting a debate. I felt so lucky to have her by my side. She had been my best friend for over 10 years. We met at university, and I still remember how I used to call her the girl with the red lipstick before we ever spoke. Holly never showed up to class without bright red lipstick. It became her trademark. Once we became friends, I never called her that again, but I never forgot it. Still smiling, I entered my room, my phone in hand, and started to type another joke back. I was about to tell Holly she deserved a medal for handling Grandma, but something in the room felt off. I didn't notice it at first, not until I glanced up at the mirror. My breath caught. I froze. My heart started pounding. On the mirror, written in red lipstick, were the words, "Check his phone." Right beside it was a photo. Fred. Hugging a girl. Her face hidden in his chest. I stared at it, unable to speak or think. Then it hit me. Red lipstick. Holly. I snapped a photo and sent it to her with the message, "Was this you?" She didn't answer. She hadn't even read it. I stared at the mirror again. I had no choice. I had to check. That was why, just a few minutes later, I was standing in front of Fred's room again. My heart beat fast, and my hands felt cold. I knew the message on the mirror was about him. It could not be about anyone else. Who else would someone warn me about on my wedding day? I knocked once, then opened the door without waiting. Fred turned toward me and smiled like nothing was wrong. "Is everyone getting on your nerves again?" he asked, trying to sound light. "Actually, I have a request," I said. My voice was steady, but inside, I felt like I was shaking. "What kind of request?" Fred asked. He was still smiling, but it looked forced. "I want to check your phone," I said. His smile vanished. His eyebrows drew together. "Why do you need that?" he asked. "I just want to check something," I said. "What?" Fred's tone changed. He sounded sharper now. "Can you just give me your phone?" I asked. "Please." I didn't even know what I expected to find. I just knew I had to look. Fred raised his voice. "You don't trust me?" "Of course I trust you. It's just." "Just what?" he yelled, cutting me off. "I'm not going to give you my phone. If you don't trust me, then why are we even getting married?" I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I looked at him and felt stuck. I couldn't finish. I took a deep breath. "You're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked," I said and turned away. I walked out and closed the door behind me. When I got back to my room, I sat down and forced myself not to cry. I didn't want to ruin my makeup. My hands shook as I held my phone. A message popped up from Holly. "What the hell is that?" Then another. "Of course, it wasn't me." "But it's your lipstick," I wrote back. "It's a different shade," she replied. I stared at her reply. If it wasn't her, then who? I sat there frozen, confused and scared. A knock broke the silence. I stood up and opened the door. Fred was standing there. "Amelia, can I come in?" he asked. I shook my head. I didn't want him near the mirror. "I'm sorry," I yelled, he said. "Here." He held out his phone. "Why did you suddenly change your mind?" I asked. "I don't want you to think I have something to hide." I took the phone and opened it. I checked his texts, photos, call history. I even checked the deleted folder. It was all clean. Too clean. I gave the phone back. "Thank you," I said. "So what were you looking for?" Fred asked. "Nothing really. We need to get ready," I said. "The ceremony is soon." Fred nodded, and I closed the door to my room, leaving him standing in the hallway. I leaned against the door for a second and tried to breathe. It was strange. Just earlier, Fred had shouted that I didn't trust him. He acted hurt, like I had crossed a line. But then he brought me his phone, calm and polite, and it was spotless. Too spotless. That only made my doubts grow stronger. I turned and walked slowly to the mirror. I had not touched it before. Maybe I was afraid. Maybe I was hoping it would just go away. I reached out and took the photo from the glass. I flipped it over and saw the gum. Sticky and pink. I knew right away what that meant. I held the photo tight and walked out the door. I walked into the bridesmaid's room. Stacy was sitting there alone, chewing gum like always. She leaned back in the chair and stared at her nails. "Where's Holly?" I asked. She shrugged without looking up. "I don't know. She said she'd be right back," Stacy replied. I stepped closer. I pulled the photo from my pocket and placed it in front of her. "Don't you want to explain something?" I asked. My voice was calm, but my chest felt tight. Stacy looked at the photo. Her eyes moved across it, then she looked at me. "I've never seen this photo before," she said. "It was stuck with gum." "Only you could have done that," I said. I didn't blink. I watched her face closely. Stacy sighed and sat up straight. Did you check his phone? She asked. Yes, there's nothing there, I said. Stacy, if you have something to say, say it. She looked down for a moment. Then she looked back at me. Did you tell Holly about all this? She asked. Yes, I said again. Stacy nodded slowly. That's probably why you didn't find anything on his phone. She told him to delete everything. I stared at her. I don't understand you, I said. Holly and Fred are dating, she said. I blinked. What? They started seeing each other before you and Fred even got together, she said. That's nonsense, I said. I almost laughed. But I couldn't. It didn't feel like a joke. That's why I left the message instead of telling you face to face, Stacy said. I knew you wouldn't believe me. I even wrote it with red lipstick to make you think of Holly. I swallowed hard. Then why would Fred marry me? I asked. Money, Stacy said. Your family is rich. He would get a lot in the divorce. I sat down slowly. How do you know about this? I asked. I saw them together. The same day I took that photo, she said. But that was the only proof I had. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I asked. Fred bribed me, Stacy said. He said he'd share the money with me if I stayed quiet. I agreed. But then, during the wedding prep, I got to know you better. You didn't deserve this. I felt awful. She looked at me. I'm sorry. I felt a lump in my throat. My hands shook. But I stood up. Well, I said. Looks like we have a wedding to ruin. An hour later, I was walking down the aisle in my wedding dress, and Fred was standing at the altar, smiling at me as if everything were perfectly normal, as if nothing had happened. But when I looked at him, I no longer saw the man I loved, I only saw the lies he had tried to hide. Everything felt like a blur. The priest started speaking. Fred said, I do. Then it was my turn. I looked at Fred and said, go to hell, with your Holly. Gasps spread through the church, the priest started praying. Holly's expression shifted from confusion to fear as she began to panic. Should I repeat that? Or will you leave? I asked. Amelia. I cut him off. I know everything. About you. About Holly. About your plan. You won't get a single cent. I turned to Holly. Some friend you are. 10 years of friendship, and you threw it away for a man. Holly shouted, because you have everything anyone could ever dream of. I just wanted something for once. Get out. I yelled. Now. Without saying a word, Fred reached for Holly's hand, and together they turned and walked down the aisle, leaving behind a room full of shocked guests. Heads turned to follow them, and quiet whispers rose like a wave around me. Stacy slowly began to move, her expression unsure, as if she were considering leaving with them but had not yet made up her mind. Stay, I said. If you want to. You saved my life, if I can say that. Stacy gave a small smile and nodded. I turned to the guests. The wedding is off. I shouted. But the party is on. Everyone looked shocked at first. Some guests whispered to each other. Some just stood still with wide eyes. But when the music started and the food was served, people relaxed. No one wanted to miss a free meal or open bar. So my ruined wedding slowly turned into something else, a party to celebrate freedom. And to be honest, it felt easier, lighter, and much less stressful than the wedding. Write in the comments what you think about this story and subscribe to our channel D-Dam Mix.